I didn't have a website when I first started my business. I had signed several clients to work with me because I was playing with tech tools behind the scenes, and I created an email list. I met those clients in Facebook groups and was connecting and sharing and serving in those spaces. And then they would hop over to my email list where I would share about the offer and share tips on writing to attract your dream clients and things. But I was a few months into my business, but already had a lot of, for me, relatively a lot of visibility. And so I was putting this pressure on myself of like, oh, wow, what are my first blog posts going to be? They need to be representative of whatever I want to talk about forevermore, basically, was the pressure I was putting on myself. And then thankfully, finally, I got over it because I had a timeline I was working with. I wanted it to be up and published by my birthday. So I was able to get over myself by being like, it's okay. I can always add more. And I have added more, hundreds more posts in the decade that followed. But it was a very real thing for me to almost not start and almost not pick a blog post because I felt like this has to be basically epitaph level legacy memorialization, whatever I want to be known for forever or bust. And that's a lot of pressure. And I want to speak to that, a reframe that is helpful to me in hopes that it helps you in your creative process as well. Because the whole do your best, all you can do is your best. Well, you tried your best. What does that even mean? First of all. Second of all, is that really true and possible? Because like you can also do your worst, like at some point your worst is done and you did it. So it's like, it's okay. Let's normalize that not everything is us trying our best. And sometimes you zoom out a level and it's like, look, I'm just trying my best to make it through the day, make sure all of my children are fed, ideally bathed and brush teeth. If we floss, whoa, like it's all relative. And if you zoom too much, I'm like, every single thing has to get my best attention, my most focus. And, I'm going to execute this to the absolute best of my ability. I don't know that that's realistic or even desired. And maybe it is for you. And that's a decision that you can make. Creativity # on her terms. Because maybe you can decide you are going to have a lower output of volume and it's going to take a long time. And then, that incubation process is what it is. It's not that it's right or wrong. But if that's the kind of artist you are, we're probably not in the same circle and world currently, if that's really your process. Because most of the people in my world are like me, where we have digital or information service-based businesses where we're here to share ideas. We're helping people with their own ideas and bringing those to life. We're supporting them in some way. And in order to get to know people and to shine our light so that people can get to know us and decide if they want to work with us, we're sharing our messages, we're sharing our thoughts, we're sharing our processes, we're sharing our own stories. And so it's like, is everything going to be earth-shattering, chef's kiss excellence? No. So let's just zoom out and redefine your best. So the reframe that I have for you is to think about your content. And I don't even like to think of it as content, but that is what it is. Let's just go with the word that works. Think about the law of averages and we'll get mathy. And think about if you were to create 10,000 pieces of content, whether that's blog posts, whether that's podcasts, whether that's emails, whether it's keynote speeches, books even. Say you were creating 10,000 pieces of content in your lifetime. 5,000 will be, air quotes, above average, and 5,000 will be below average. Again, what even does that mean? How are you judging? What are the criteria here? Is it based on engagement? Is it based on profit generated? Is it based on how much fun you had? Is it based on brand recognition? Like there's so many different ways that you could even define what average would be, but let's not overcomplicate it. So 5,000 above average, 5,000 below average. The cool thing is with your creativity, it's cumulative. So the more that you're creating, the more feedback you're getting, the more confidence you're getting in your delivery, the more clarity you're getting in your messages because people are responding and then you're like, oh, that was unclear. They didn't really understand what I was saying. Let me try it this way. The more energy and momentum that you're building, the more intention you have because you're clear, the more that you're doing it, the more that you're just, even if it feels like your feet are kind of in the mud or you're tripping over your toes or whatever, that's how we build confidence. We don't learn to walk by thinking about it. We learn to walk by actually mechanically doing the motions and taking the action. You're getting wisdom. You're developing resilience. You're building trust in yourself, which is so ridiculously attractive. I mean, what's more attractive than someone who trusts themselves to handle whatever it is that comes up next? That confidence is so appealing. So I want you to think about, even though half of what you're going to create is not, air quotes, your best work, it's actually all your best work, because it's like little stepping stones. So the meh post from yesterday actually sparked an idea or a conversation that led to this post, which then really resonated with a bunch of people. And then it got you thinking about this thing, which was maybe a little underwhelming of a podcast episode when you shared it, but then it sparked this other conversation, which sparked you to create a whole new program. And you can think of it, I love the DNA emoji, the double helix, the spiral staircase vibe. So it's just all a cycle, and we have more perspective. And stuff that I share today, I was sharing 10 years ago in various forms, but I have a whole lot more life experience and business experience and whatever when I'm sharing it now. It has a different resonance with me, so it'll have a different resonance with you. And even if you heard me say it 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 5 years ago, you're in a different place as well. So it all matters and it all adds up. And I would say it's like creative compounding. Compound interest. It actually all has value, whether it's above the imaginary line or below the imaginary line. It all has value. It's like puberty, and I have a post and a video about that called Biz Puberty back in the day. But it's like, you can't, just because maybe those weren't your favorite years of life, they were very important, formative years of life. You can't just like delete those. They served a purpose. They got you from there to here. Those were important formative years. So if you look back at old YouTube videos or early podcast episodes or your first emails or whatever, and you're like, ooh, cringy, cheesy, crickets, whatever it is, I'm so glad you did it. It's all divine breadcrumbs. It's all refreshing. We were talking about this at my friend Jen's birthday and her Finfluence event over the weekend, where I'm like, even if people wanted to pivot, or I was talking about how I've had the Naptime Empires podcast, and then I also have this one, and it's not like I took the Naptime Empires one down, because it still serves. And also it helps people see a whole journey of, oh, her thinking has evolved on this, or, oh, look at this person that she interviewed and how much their business has grown in this decade of everyone doing business and growing up together in this sense. Like, it's cool to have those mile markers, like a little scrapbook. So it's the same thing with your air quotes less than average content. It serves. It's something for you to stand on to get to the next stepping stone, and then the next one and the next one. Which also reminds me of a podcast episode on Naptime Empires called Appreciate Where You Are Now. But it's like, we can be looking over the head of wherever we are now, like, I can't wait until this is happening, or this is happening, or this is happening. But it's like, right now has something for us. We don't get there without here first on a map at the mall. You are here. And it's the same thing with every single bit of content that you put out there, even if that content is in a conversation one-on-one with someone in carpool today. Like, we are meant to be this mutual inspiration society, talking to each other and having that feedback loop. And so the whole point of this podcast, I'm sure there are many that you could be gleaning from it, but the whole main point here is to release the pressure of, air quotes, doing your best and doing your best. Like, some of it's going to be less than your best, and that is still perfect, because it's necessary, because it's all part of the creative process. And when we're thinking about best post, best content, and we're too specific and we're too narrow in what we're looking at, like we're looking at literally just one post and not zooming out to see like what else was going on, what else informed that, what then was inspired by that, then we're missing the forest for the trees. So whether you're coming back after a break, it's been a while, and you're putting yourself back out there and you feel like, oh, it needs to be the best, or maybe it's your first time experience actually putting yourself out there, let's just release the pressure valve. 50-50, and it's all perfect. All right, that's what I got. Give yourself the gift of creation without judgment as much as you can, so that you can learn to trust your process, whatever it may be. Let people get what they get from it and keep on going. All right, talk to you soon. Okay, technically that was the end of the episode, but since you're still here, one, I'd love to thank you for spending part of your day with me, and two, I'd love to ask you if you would take 30 seconds, maybe 60, to leave a rating and review in your podcast app before you tap out today. If you've already done that, it's amazing. Please send me a screenshot so I can thank you personally, and know that sharing this episode with a friend has the same magical powers, and I deeply appreciate both. Also, in case you're listening to the end to see if I ever actually introduce myself, hi! My name is Nikki Elledge Brown. I'm the host and author of Naptime Empires and this here On Her Terms podcast. You can find me around the internet at Nikki Elledge Brown in most places, but what you may appreciate most is actually over at onherterms.com. It's what I call the insider library. It's where you can get inside scoop, first listen rights, email updates every time there's a new episode, and then special insider only bonus content. It's all over in our private feed. Okay, that's a wrap for real. I'll meet you in the next episode.